Once you saw your arm in the shark's mouth, was there any point where you're like, yeah, man, like this might be it?
You can feel like the tooth mark of where he first latched on there. To give you perspective, that's how close we were. When he first latched on, we were face to face.
Wow.
I ended up having like visions of my kids playing in the backyard with my husband, like memories of my life started to kind of populate like a movie reel. Like my body was giving up. But then I felt the strength of the Lord just come out from inside of me and give me the strength to fight back. And the new thought that formed was, no, you are not going to take my life. I am not going to die here.
So Tiffany Johnson, a few years ago, you're on this amazing cruise with your husband and having the time of your lives. And you get to the last stop, which was Nassau, right, in the Bahamas. And you guys were snorkeling, I believe, correct?
Yep.
Snorkeling, and your husband gets in the water and he gets out and kind of feels like, I'm just not feeling good. Mm-hmm. You get in the water, you go and do the snorkeling experience and walk the audience through what happened there.
Yeah. So once my husband left, I just kind of put my head back under the water, just got lost in that world. Cause it's like a whole different vantage point when you're watching from that perspective. And we think it had only been about 10 minutes or so from the time he left to when I, all of a sudden I felt like I had slammed into something. And that actually was the thought that went through my mind was, oh, what did I bump into? So I turned to my right casually to see, what I had bumped into. And I was face to face with a shark. And he had my whole arm in his mouth. That was the bump I felt, was him grabbing onto my arm. I have a scar. You can't really see it very well now, like through there, but it's I
can see the indentation a little bit.
So that you can feel like the tooth mark of where he first latched on there. So that's kind of, to give you perspective, that's how close we were. Like when he first latched on, we were face to face.
Wow.
And of course, it felt like time stood still and yet was all a blur all at once. Like it was very distorted. I ended up having like visions of my kids playing in the backyard with my husband, like memories of my life started to kind of populate like a movie reel. And really? I felt almost like a giving up, like a releasing, like my body was giving up. But then I felt the strength of the Lord just come out from inside of me and give me the strength to fight back. And I remember like pushing those thoughts back. And the new thought that formed was, no, you are not going to take my life. I am not going to die here. And it was like that fight, came back in me. And so at that point, we were just kind of sitting there. He had me pinned, but his eyes were like darting everywhere and then staring and then darting everywhere and then staring. It was just evil, eerie, like face off. But then once I yanked my arm, that's when it began to be, it was like game on for him, right? So he's fighting, thrashing. I'm screaming through my snorkel tube. Everybody asked me, what'd you do with your left hand? I don't remember. It was just so much commotion, so much thoughts and things going on that I can't recall what I did with my left hand. But I was yanking, trying to get free from him. But of course he had me pinned. There was nowhere to go. And that snorkel tube is, in my mouth still. So I'm screaming, but you can't really hear it from, out. Like everybody, all you can hear is that, sound. It's not loud enough to draw attention. So unbeknownst to me, my husband had actually gotten sick 3 times in a row on the boat. And so the captain was distracted trying to, clean that up. My husband jumps back in the water to clean himself off. So all of that's happening while I'm fighting for my life. So nobody knew what was going on. And so when I finally got free from him, I was just yanking and his jaws kind of opened on one of those yanks. And my arm just came flying out and it was completely severed, like just a mangled stump, not hanging there, just gone. So of course, I'm just in shock at that point. Like my arm's gone, but God gave me the strength and the capacity to keep moving because I was already at the surface of the water. So I just threw off my snorkel mask. I screamed out, help me, Jesus. And I began to make my way back to the boat. That was my dominant arm. So I had my non-dominant arm just swimming as quickly as I can I took a few strokes, and I remember thinking, you got to get the injured arm out of the water. And so I just kind of like lifted my injured arm up. And that then began to like spray everywhere. Like it was like, I
Sure.
remember seeing it, yeah, from my peripheral vision. Like it was
Mm.
literally just like Old Faithful. And that's the sight my husband saw when he was coming out of the water to wash himself off. He heard me scream, and then he saw me swimming back with my arm just spewing blood everywhere. And I remember locking eyes with him. And the terror in his eyes are like nothing I'll ever see. It again, it's an eerie terror in his eyes. And he screamed out, "Baby!" And he jumped in the water. And then I'm thinking, okay, he's coming for me, but that shark's right behind me. Like you think about all the facts about sharks, it's all going through my head at that point. Like
Yeah,
a
of
drop of
course.
blood makes them go crazy, where there's one, there's usually more. So all I could think about is he's right behind me, going to grab my leg or my side, grab my other arm. And so I'm just literally just swimming as quickly as I can to get to that boat. And I made it most of the way before my husband even met me in the water. And he said, as he like got closer, he heard me praying, and that was just coming out of me.
Of
Which
course. Yeah.
it just, even right now, just thinking about that just makes me emotional, because I'm thinking, what you put in comes out, like it was literally, it was like involuntary, it was just coming out of me. That was my lifeline. And so we finally got to the ladder of the boat, and my husband kind of just, before I could even like touch it really, he was launched me out from the water.
Yeah.
And once I got in the boat, I felt a peace surround me. Like I can't really explain it. It was a cloud
Mm.
of peace. I knew that the Lord was there. And I was very urgent, but I wasn't panicked,
Right.
and I just told him, you got to get something to stop the bleeding. And we found out there's no med kit, no tourniquet. So we used the beach towels that the cruise line gives us,
Yeah.
and use that to kind of tourniquet my arm. And then it was a 30-minute-ish boat ride back. We made a stop at Paradise Island, but there's no hospital there. So we had to back the boat out, go an additional 20 minutes from there. So altogether, it was about a 30-minute boat ride to the main port. And once out of surgery, the surgeons told my husband that, I was in critical condition, but the miracle of it all was that I didn't require a blood transfusion. They said I didn't lose enough blood. So
That's wild to me, right? Like
just
from the sheer description of your injured limb out, like you said, Old Faithful, like
yeah,
obviously you would, it begs the question, like, yeah, absolutely. You would need a blood transfusion. That's incredible to me. I have a couple questions,
yeah,
surrounding that. Like once you saw, your arm in the shark's mouth, and when you finally were able to rip your arm out of the shark's jaws, was there any thought like, okay, like the worst part is over, like I'm going to get through this, like, because I know your faith, right? I've done background, and I know that, that if it were to happen, where you were going,
yeah.
and you'd be at peace with that, right? But was there any point where you're like, yeah, man, like this might be it. Like this really truly might be it. Even after that spirit came over you,
Yeah.
right? Like,
I my I think that I was very concerned once we got to Paradise Island. We beached the boat. We tried to get help there, and then when we had to back the boat out and go the additional 20 minutes, because I knew what that ride was, because we had just did it,
yeah,
like a couple hours
yeah,
before. That's when I had that sinking feeling, like, oh gosh, this is not good.
yeah.
But I tried not to let my mind go there, because I knew the Lord was there. I could feel his presence. So I was like, I can't focus on what may happen. I literally did the only
Mhm.
thing I knew to do. And I just began to pray. I just started praying all these crazy prayers. And that's where I tried to focus my mind and my attention during that 20-minute boat ride.
Mm. what was your husband like at that point because like, look, it's one thing to be in it, right? Like for you physically, right? And you're going through your own spiritual thing at that point, feeling the Lord's presence, but your husband's going through another.
Right.
He's watching his best friend, the mother of his children, his wife, his love go through this. And the desperation he must have felt to hurry the heck up and get to somewhere that he could, so you can get medical attention. Like, how did you view his energy and what, and again, also, how did he communicate it to you after? Like, how was he truly feeling?
Yeah. In that boat ride, I remember him tapping my cheek a few times because I had closed my eyes because I couldn't be looking at the scene because it looked like a murder scene. My blood was everywhere.
Yeah, I bet.
So I literally just closed my eyes and just focused on like deep breathing and, praying. And so a few times he like was tapping me and I'd open my eyes and look at him. He's like, okay, just checking. And he told me later, like, he was just nervous because I looked so still, he's like, did I lose her? So that's where his mind was. Like he was very desperate. So that word desperation is, it's very indicative of where he was at mentally. His eyes were as big as golf balls, like frantic. And even just afterwards, when I was in the surgery for the 5 hours, they had to take him to the cruise line to get all of our stuff off the cruise before it departed. And then he had to make all the calls to, my family, his family. And he's like, I felt like I was a shell. Like I couldn't really think or feel emotionally. It was like, everything was just, like gone. And there was a part of him that was just so angry because he's like, why is this happening? Like, why is this happening to, my wife, my best friend, like you said, like there's a part of him that wanted to be so mad. But then there was this other part of him was like, but I know who God is. And, I have to trust that he's in this and he's saved her from the sharks. So like, while she's in surgery, like he's got her there, like it was just like this wrestling back and forth. And he told me that later he had gone to Burger King in between. The Ministry of Tourism had taken them to get his stuff. And then he was at Burger King with them and he could barely eat, but he hadn't ate since like breakfast. And, it's going on like 5 o'clock at that point. So she's like, you got to eat something. And he was just one word answers, not being able to really communicate well. And she's like, Mr. Johnson, are you okay? And he looked at her and was like, I'm not okay. Like I'm not, know? And she said, I can't even imagine what you're going through right now, but just know, like when your wife gets out of surgery, she's going to need you. She's going to need you to be strong for her. And that was just like the thing that snapped him kind of out of that like weird scenario he was in. And from then on, he was just like, okay, we're doing this. Like like for everything, I've never seen him so like methodical. Usually I'm the one that deals with all the logistics and whatever, but like to watch him, like, he was on it and it was miraculous, honestly. So I don't mean that in a demeaning way, but he would say the same thing.
But listen, to your point and to his defense, most marriages are honestly like that, right? My wife handles all the logistics, but when it's time for me to step up in certain areas, like it's locked in, right? And we all have our gifts, but man, I can tell you, I'm sitting here thinking and listening to that story, and obviously I have a ton of empathy for your situation, but I'm also putting myself in your husband's position, right?
Yeah.
To a point where he's going around and they're telling him like, hey, you got to eat.
Yeah.
Like, here's the thing. Like if someone takes me to Burger King at that point, I'm thinking like, how in the world am I going to have a Whopper with cheese when my wife's fighting for her life and surgery right now? Like, who gives a crap if I'm hungry or not? But also if he doesn't eat, then he can't be there for you. So I understand what she was doing. Like, hey, this ain't the greatest food, but you need to eat it because when your wife wakes up, she needs you.
Right.
Oh man.
Yeah.
This is This is just, real quick, what kind of shark was it? Do you know?
Well, so the Attack Institute narrowed it down to either a Caribbean reef shark or a tiger shark. I 100% think it's a tiger shark. The eyes
They're
are
very
what gives it
aggressive.
away. Yeah, for
Yeah.
me, because,
Yeah.
I showed you how close we were. Like, the feature that I can remember the most are the eyes, and it was dark and beady. Caribbean reef sharks' eyes are iridescent. They're not even close to what I remember. So when I finally looked at images, I was like, that's it, the tiger shark. I will go to my grave saying it's a tiger shark, but they can't say for sure, expert wise.
I don't think anybody would contest that point, right? They're very aggressive. So at any point, like when you're on the deck of the boat, right, and you're calm, you're at peace, are you? Because I think a lot of people are probably thinking right now, listen to this episode, like, how much pain was she in? Were you in obviously probably shock? Mm-hmm. But what were your pain levels at that point?
Yeah, actually, I didn't feel any pain until they got me in the ambulance and they started unwrapping the beach towel. So by then, it's 35, 40 minutes, because from the time the attack happened all the way to when they finally get me into the ambulance, then the pain went from 0 to like a million. It doesn't register on those tiny little.
Put me under. Like, what are we doing here?
That little pain scale at the doctor doesn't do it any kind of justice. Like, it was.
Yeah.
It made me involuntarily scream out. Like, it radiated through my whole body. It was the worst pain I can even imagine or describe. It was just awful. And the thing about the Bahamas is they're great. They were amazing people, but they're very limited in their resources. So all they had was morphine. So that was great for an hour, but then the in between where I had to wait, 4 to 5 hours between doses, they had nothing. So those were the times where it was just, it was I remember telling my husband on Saturday. So this happened on a Friday. On Saturday mid-morning, they told us that we probably wouldn't get back to the U.S. until Tuesday because we didn't have passports. It's a whole other side of the story. But basically, when she left, because of the pain, I looked at my husband and I was like, I don't know if I can make it till Tuesday. Like, we need to leave now. Like, it was that bad. It was just horrendous.
So walk me through that, right? So no passports. I'm assuming they got lost in the attack or, in the getting the stuff from the ship to where were you? What happened there?
Yeah. So you can actually cruise without passports. So because we were on a cruise, we didn't have to have our passport. So my passport had expired. I never renewed it for the cruise. My husband had never even had a passport. So PSA, don't do that. Just don't.
I didn't know you could cruise without a passport. You didn't know that.
Yeah, you can. You can cruise with a birth certificate and driver's license. So that's what we had, which would have been okay if the U.S. Embassy was open. But because it was a national holiday for them, they were closed. And then they're never open on the weekends. And they said they had an extended holiday on Monday. So that's why on Saturday, when she came in, she was like, listen, there's no way to get you anywhere until Tuesday. And I'm thinking, that's not going to work. Like, I can't stay here till Tuesday. So it was a miraculous turn of events that happened from there. But long story short, there was a guy that we were put in contact with that was a medvac guy. And he had contacts in Charlotte because he had a fiance that lived in Charlotte. And so 2 months before this all happened, he had made contacts with the Charlotte medvac people, and they worked together to team up to figure out a way to get me back. And I went from the Bahamas to Charlotte, which apparently was a big ordeal because if it's a medvac situation, you have to go into the closest port of entry, and that's usually Miami for Nassau.
Of course, yeah.
But he told me in his 15 years of doing this, he's never seen a medvac flight go anywhere but Miami. But somehow I was able to go from Nassau all the way to Charlotte. And he's, I don't know who did what. And I said, God did it. That's what, I'm like, we've been praying. So we ended up being able to get back on the flight 6 a.m. wheels down Sunday morning. And then I was discharged from Charlotte's hospital on Tuesday. So I wasn't even supposed to be back by Tuesday, and I was already back home. So
this is what's wild to me, right? Like this happened on a Friday, right?
yep.
Shark attack Friday, arm gone Friday, Saturday, Sunday, you're out of the hospital by Tuesday. It's like,
yeah,
I mean, like,
it's a whirlwind.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like there's people that get hip replacement surgeries that are in the hospital longer. Like that just, this is so interesting to me because like, I'm going to tell you a story.
Yeah.
Okay. My business partners, which also one of my closest friends, says like, "Hey, I'm gonna get you to surf." I'm like, "Yo, dude, you're not gonna get me to surf. Like, I'm just gonna be straight up with you. You're not gonna get it done." And like, I don't like to take extra risks. And even when we go to the beach here, because I'm in Southwest Florida, and I feel as though, Tiffany, these shark attacks are happening much more often.
Yeah.
In fact, earlier this month, when I was out in California, a 9-year-old girl, I think it was Boca Grande,
Mhm.
or somewhere around there in Southwest Florida area, got her hand bit off by a shark, but then enough to reattach. But like a 9-year-old, like these things are happening, and I always tell them like, nah, man, like you're not going to get me to do these type of adventurous things. So I don't even like going to the beach. And when my kids are in the water, I'm like, I look at my wife and I go, babe, like they're too far.
Mhm.
Like they are way too far. I've fished on this beach before. Right. And of course they're nurse sharks that, usually that far in, but I just feel like it's happening more and more often. Have you noticed that lately?
Yeah, absolutely. I think also because I'm a shark attack survivor. It's like when you drive a brand new car and then you start seeing your car on the road, like that's, so some of that might be, they might be as frequent as normal, but it feels, I don't know, but I do believe that it's definitely been happening a lot more. Like there was just 2 in Hilton Head just this last week.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So it's kind of crazy how close they're coming to the shores. I think that's the thing that's a little scary about it because where mine was, it was out in the middle of the ocean. Like I'm in their territory, kind of. It wasn't a reef, so it was 10 feet of water that probably shouldn't have been there, but I was still out. Whereas these other ones, attacks happening right beach level, that's like, that makes me super nervous.
Yeah, me too. It's like I said, it's just one of those things that I think it's when you live in this area that we live in, I'm sorry, everybody says it's so rare. I'm like, well, if it's so rare, then why does I feel like it's happening more and more? And it's like maybe, in my opinion, like maybe overall the percentages are low. Like they're saying you have a better chance of getting struck by lightning twice before you get, attacked by a shark. It's like, I think we're closing the gap here.
Yeah.
And I don't know what it is, Tiffany.
I don't know.
Is there so? And I don't. I was only asking that because, or even implying, because I didn't know if like you were a part of a community of people that support, that have gone through the same thing as you. If there's any theories from what are they? A marine biologist, like, hey, these are the reasons why they're coming closer, why they're happening more. But I mean, I guess if it's not a thing.
Yeah. I mean, I was on a segment for the Discovery Channel, and the segment that they had me featured in was to kind of dissect that, like, why is this happening more frequently? I guess in Nassau specifically, in that greater area, there was like, they were like bing, 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 and I was like the start of it. So they had kind of threw out some suggestions and theories during when they actually asked me all these questions pre-interview to see if it would like fit. But nothing that they threw out really I didn't at least notice. Like they're like, was there more trash in the water? Was, the water, did it feel warmer? Did it, like all these different like scenarios. And I couldn't really say that any of those really fit with what happened to me, but that doesn't mean that maybe that's why some of those attacks are happening. The chumming of the waters is a huge thing, like for tourism, which is one of the things they kind of figured might be happening with the Nassau stuff, is because not too far away from where the attacks are happening, they're chumming for like nurse sharks and things to come in. Well, that's going to draw not just nurse sharks. So drawing them in just in that general area. So that's something I've definitely heard thrown out. I'm on a Facebook group with some Australian survivors. And that's big. Like they're really big on like the tourism aspect, like trying to keep that in check because cage diving's huge there. And they just feel like it's just mixing what doesn't need to be mixed. So, so I think that does play some of into it, but I don't know how much, I'm not an expert in that. So I don't know, but definitely something to consider.
Yeah. It's just a question, right? Like there's gotta be, I don't know. There's gotta be some reason, right? But then, like you said just now, you said something very specific and it triggered a thought. And you said, mixing things where, they shouldn't be. How about that new documentary on Netflix that just came out? The lady that gets in the water and swims with the sharks and like, what I mean, dude, like I almost watched it last night because I was like, okay, I just don't know if I can, but like, she's literally like, yeah, I just keep my elbow locked and just turn them away with pressure. I'm like, dude, that's a great white shark. Like what, how do you get into something like that? When you see that, right? What kind of initial thought? I know you're not speaking ill of anybody. I'm not asking you for that, but just like the initial, like the knee jerk reaction to that for you.
Yeah. Well, it's just, to me, it's just not worth it. It's the same thing as like, Jaws just celebrated 50 years, and so everybody was like, they're putting it back in the theater. And at the amputee clinic that I volunteer at, one of the guys was joking with me. He's like, are you going to go see it in theaters? I was like, I lived Jaws. I don't need to see it on the movie screen. So I don't have any appetite for that.
No.
I think that's my knee jerk. Like actually afterwards, even like I would start noticing there's such a fascination with sharks that we have like as a society. That like even in little kids, like there was a chair at the pool that we went to like shortly after, and it's like this big mouth of a shark, and it's a little kid's chair, and I'm like, that's morbid, but I guess I never would have like thought of that before. But like, I guess being that I've gone through what I have, it's just, there's so much shark stuff. Like even when I buy like swim trunks for my son, a lot of them have shark references on them, and so it's just
Baby
that
shark.
I'm like, no,
Baby shark. It's that whole song, right? Like by Ping Fong, Baby Shark. I mean, like there is a fascination with it. And I don't understand it because I respect it so much, like everything that you've gone through. And I want to dig into more of obviously the show, I always ask this question, and because it's called The Determined Society, and it almost feels silly asking you, what does true determination mean to you? But I'm going to, because I want to hear your perspective on you overcoming, the days and the months and the years, because I'm sure your life has changed drastically from a standpoint of things that you were able to freely do that you may not be able to now. Obviously, maybe even public opinion, and you've dealt with so much. So walk me through what true determination means to you.
Well, it's a loaded question, but I would say
that's by design, by the way.
Yes. I think it's a loaded question for anybody.
Yes.
But for me, I think the thing I had to wrestle with at the very beginning, and still to this day, every day I get to choose. I get to choose how I'm going to respond. I didn't choose what happened to me. And a lot of people are in that scenario in life where something happened. It was tragic. It's a loss. And it wasn't something of their own doing. It just happened. Right. And sometimes we don't have a control of that, but what we can control is how we're going to respond. So when I got a hold of that mentality of like, I have that choice. I can choose whether I choose joy today or I choose to be frustrated at the things I can't do. I get to choose whether I'm at peace or I'm stressed out because we can't pay the thousands of medical bills that keep piling up. I get to choose whether I'm going to overcome or I'm just going to hold myself up in my room and play the why is me card. Like there's a choice there every single day. Now, is it easy? No, but it is a choice like every day. And so that revelation really changed things for me. And obviously, I'm rooted in my faith. And so that really, anytime where I struggled with that choice of like, I don't want to choose joy today because this sucks. Like you have those days and I still have those days.
I don't want to overcome right now.
Right,
I just don't want to.
Right.
Yeah.
And when I get to that point, that's when I have to just open up the Bible and dig into God's word and let that speak life into me when I don't feel like I have the life right now, and that's usually what refreshes me and gets me back on, track. And sometimes I just have to like, Tiffany, wake up, like you're a miracle, like it's okay that you're feeling this way, but yet, don't waste the second chance, so it's like, it's that, understanding that we're going to have the lows and it's okay not to be okay, but not to stay there. So, that's really the process that I've gone through since the attack happened.
So on that loaded question, masterful answer, because look, your situation or the circumstances that happened to you may not be directly parallel to me or to somebody else, but the overall idea is we get to choose every day.
Yep.
And that was so eloquently put, because it doesn't matter what the circumstance is, right? Like we are all here. We are all going through things. And again, the adversity that you went through with your arm and your attack is a lot more than certain things that I've had to overcome in my life. Yeah, I had a blood clot, but I have both my limbs, right? Like there's many things that I've gone through on a personal level that aren't the same, but the overall underlying theme is you get to choose, man.
Yeah.
Like you get to choose how you operate right now, because for the audience that's listening, right? You said something else too. You said how you respond. And I think a lot of people are stuck in a reactive mode.
Yeah.
Right. And so when you make that choice of like, I'm going to choose joy, I'm not going to sit here and waste the second chance. I'm a miracle and I'm going to live life and I'm going to speak life and I'm going to serve others. We all have those choices. They're not easy, but they're simple.
Yeah.
And being able to be so rooted in your faith and be the overcomer and to be an inspiration to folks that, a lot of times there might be people in their life like, hey, I'm going through a lot of stuff. And then you come into their life and they go, oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And here I am worried about a credit card bill,
right,
or a hospital bill or something. And you're that testament to truly what overcoming, and fighting for your life.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
And you honestly don't know who's watching. Like I get the privilege of hearing some of these stories of people because of what I've gone through. People feel a little more free to like share like, hey, you really are inspiring me to XYZ. Or like you just said, like, I was struggling with this and I see you up there, no, it looks like you don't have a care in the world. And it makes me have a reality check. Like, this is okay. So I get the privilege of hearing some of that just because of the nature of my story and the platform that has come in result of that. But I will say that I think this has opened my eyes to see that like people watch you, they do, you don't know the impact you have on people by just your smile on your face or just by greeting somebody and complimenting somebody or, and a lot of people, especially if you know somebody's story and then you see them do something, that really speaks volumes to people and they may never, ever tell you, but they're watching and you have an impact, whether you know it or not. And I think that has also resonated with me in this whole journey. It's like, gosh, we have more, there's just so much possibility to be able to be a blessing to people that I think we just take for granted. So.
That's what I honestly do admire about you, because, everything that you do is serving others. Right. And, your organization, Be An Overcomer, um, like you, that is a platform that was created out of this, right? It wasn't
Yeah,
there prior to that.
correct.
Right. So walk the audience through that, because I think also too, and I don't want to speak for you, but from outside looking in, that's part of the healing process, right? By you serving others and focused on them, not you, that has also helped you heal, which allows you to make that great impact in society and in your ministry. So walk us through that.
Yeah. The the organization kind of developed just as things progressed from the attack. So, obviously the media storm was huge at the very beginning.
Mm,
I had all kinds of different interviews, all, Today Show, Inside Edition, and like all these crazy interviews. And of course, that opened up doors then to speak. And you're right. Every time I get to share about the story, about what God has done, um, there's a piece of me that gets the healing needed. And it takes a
yeah,
lot, because I usually get emotional at some point, because it's a lot. It's a lot to even remember, to like go back and relive it every time.
I bet.
But doing that has just reminded me just how much this life, I'm just so grateful to be here. I'm just so grateful that I have this second chance, and it's just a
Mm,
reminder every time, like, that's my story. Are you kidding me? That's crazy.
mm,
Like it makes me in awe, and it's my story, So,
right.
so just being able to share it, in all the different ways. And that's kind of how the ministry came about, is that I was sharing it so often. I was getting, invites from a lot of churches, but even corporate events, and lots of options to speak and share. Some in a faith aspect, and some just to be inspiring or to show people what overcoming looks like. And I just was like, okay, what do we do with this? Like, this is crazy. Like, I didn't ask to be the poster girl for
Yeah.
Shark Attacks. Um, it
That
wasn't
wasn't on my
really in
resume.
my,
That wasn't on my wish list.
yeah, it
It's not on
really
my
wasn't in my
Christmas
5-year
list. Like, what's
plan,
going on?
like that wasn't something on my horizon at
Oh
all.
man.
And so but because it was kind of organically happening, um, you know, my husband and I just submitted it before the Lord. We're like, okay, God, should we do something with this? Like, I feel like there's this opportunity, but I didn't want to just make it into something that for my benefit. Like this wasn't about me. Like I wanted to be able
Yeah.
to share it, to help others. And so we decided to go ahead and put a name on it after a year of kind of going and speaking, and came up with Be An Overcomer Ministries. And really the aim is just to spread joy to others, to shift your perspective. Like I was talking about, you may be in a funk because of situations, but you get to choose. And what does that look like? What are the practical steps for that? And that's turned into all kinds of different avenues. I speak at public assemblies for schools. Like I said, I still volunteer with my doctors in the amputee clinic once a month, and get
That's
to
awesome.
one firsthand, be able to sit down with amputees. Some of them days, they're, this is 2 days
Mm,
in, and they're just in this shock mode.
yeah.
So it's been really cool to watch all the different opportunities come about for me, just to say, you know what, I might as well use it, And so it's been cool to see that just bless others.
No, that's awesome. When you talk about all these things, we don't know why the path that we're living is the path that he chose,
Yeah.
right? This is all by his design. And for some reason, this needed to happen for you to make the impact that he had for you.
Yeah.
And one day you'll know.
Yeah.
He'll tell you
Mm-hmm.
when you're up there with him. Hopefully, it will, good Lord willing, won't be for a while.
Yeah.
But when it's time, you will have that clarity. And I just want to commend you, because there's so many different people in this world that some bad things can happen to them, and they turn in from a marginally good person to a bad person, and
Yeah.
and decide to be selfish. And because they have this massive void inside of them, right? They go on and hurt others. I mean, I did it as a young, athlete transitioning out of Division I college baseball, and I had an identity crisis. Well, like I hurt people because I had this massive gaping void inside of me that it cost me all my relationships until I figured out like, hey, yo, man, this isn't how you're supposed to be. You need to serve people. You need to be a better person. All of these things that happened to you were there so you could be stronger, so you can impact somebody.
Yeah.
And so I appreciate your perspective, not even just your perspective, just how you're living, you're being it. And I can see it in your eyes, right? Because I do this enough to where when I'm talking to somebody, someone can tell me I feel joy and I know if they're telling me the truth or not.
Yeah.
Like your children, how old are your children, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah, now they're 13, 12, and 10. So
8, maybe, right? Was the oldest one 8 when it happened?
So the oldest one was 5, about to be 6, because I'm going on year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I celebrated 8 years this June 2nd.
Okay. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. 8 years.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a happy anniversary, but it's some type of anniversary.
It is because I'm here.
You're here.
So
exactly.
Yeah. Every June 2nd, I try to take some time to really just reflect on like the goodness of God, because I shouldn't be here and I am. So I'm thankful for that.
Amazing. And so I have a question for you. Do you truly feel that your kids know that they live with a superhero? like do they get, they're looking, they're superheroes on the screen, but they have a mom that literally went through hell and back in this, and they get to learn from you. They get to see who you are. And you got to think too, it's like, what greater impact am I playing on my children because of this?
Yeah, honestly, they're one of the reasons why it didn't take me long to get out of the funk, because they still needed me, and they were young. Like my youngest was 1, about to be 2. So she had no comprehension of what was going on. So,
man,
she still needed me to change diapers and I didn't know how. It was like those things that, like, as a mom, I was like, that doesn't go away just because this happened. So they're really a good reason why I was like determined, like, I am not going to let what happened to me impact them. Like, I can deal with me, but that it cannot touch them, so we were really careful even on how we talked. Like, we didn't share with them the details of what happened right away because they were so young. So we waited 2 years. And in that 2 years, they did exactly what you just said. They watched me. Right. And so when we did tell them the shocking story of everything, it wasn't so shocking anymore because they had watched me for 2 years live life, and I'm good. They're good. They're just like, wow, yeah, that makes sense. Just, it wasn't as traumatizing as it could have been in the initial stages. And so that, again, was, I think, just a plan from God on how to, protect their minds properly in all of this. But they, it's really funny because they treat me like a show and tell piece a lot of times because I have this really cool, prosthetic and, I can move it all around, and they get like, they're like, Mom, do this, show them this, show them that you can do this. And when you do this, and, they'll go. And so I'm like a little show and tell piece. And my youngest one time, I think it was a couple years ago, she was like, Mama, are you famous? And I'm like, I mean, kind of, I guess. I mean, I've been on TV and stuff. And she's like, I think you're famous. I'm like, okay. If you think I'm famous, that's great. So,
isn't that great? It's so cute. Kids are funny because, with everything I do, it's, it's turned into a really big platform, and I'm grateful for it. When my kids are like, "Oh, you're a celebrity," like, guys, no, I'm not. Like,
right.
No, I'm not. I'm dad, and but clearly definitely not a celebrity yet,
right.
right? But like we do good work. we bring great conversations to the audience, and the audience respects us because of that. Because, there's one thing to have a platform and spread untruths or toxicity.
Yeah.
I like to bring stories like yours to the listener, so they can have that epiphany. Like, there's someone listening right now, right? And if you think I'm talking to you, I am, listener, watcher, viewer, is they have been going through something today that they don't know how to get out of.
Yeah.
And it can seem like Mount Everest for them to overcome it. And it's almost like when they feel like get to the peak of the mountain, the finish line changes and it gets bigger and bigger. It's like a treadmill. They never stop. What I'm hoping that they take from this is that they get to choose how they respond, and they get to choose how they give back, and they get to make the choice on how they're going to live their life moving forward, and not let any type of obstacle or adversity dictate how they live and how they operate.
Yeah.
And that, wow. I mean, I tell you what, what's your relationship with water now?
I still love it. It's actually,
you crazy girl. Yeah. You crazy. Are you serious?
I do. I'm very careful. I don't do a ton of snorkeling out in the open. I've only done it once actually since the attack. But I still snorkel beachside. Actually, Bermuda, we found a spot that was it was like enclosed in this like a cove, and all my kids, my husband, my mom, and stepdad, we all snorkeled together last October, and it was incredible, like the best snorkeling experience. And then I'm looking around, I'm like, we're all doing this together. Like, how amazing, like this is awesome.
I can't, girl. I can't. Like, oh my gosh, but that right there is true healing. Okay. Because, I'm making jokes about it because I know how I would handle it. Like, nah, I'm good. Like, kids out of the water. You're not even going in a lake. You're not even going in a swimming pool. Like, water's out. No more baths, just showers. but like hearing that is the piece, right? Is okay. That happened. It is not connected to this event. Like, when I'm here right now with my family in Bermuda in this cove, what happened 8 years ago is not connected to this moment. And I want that to be a lesson because, for the audience, like, we always connect things that happened before. Like, well, last time that happened, or my last boyfriend or my last girlfriend, like, hey, let's stop making others pay for the tab of somebody else.
Yeah.
Right. Or moments. Right. So I commend you for that. That's a tough one.
Yeah, it
is. That's a tough one.
Honestly, it's again back to my kids. Like, I don't want them to live in fear just because of something that happened to me, Yeah. And I don't want to live my life that way. Like, I don't want to live in fear. Yeah. I want to use wisdom. And that's, like I said, we're very cautious and careful and choosy. But I also don't want to live with that fear all the time, because that's no way to live. So
no, it's not.
It's just, again, going back to, my kids being, they really are a good motivation and help me keep myself in check, because I know they're watching, so it's not just me and my choices that are that matter. It's what I'm doing. There's a ripple effect that happens, and it's their direct impact on that. So, and I love that, they're very cautious too. Like, my oldest, she told me recently a bucket list for her would be to snorkel in open water. And I said, that's awesome. Like, I would love for you to be able to do that someday. And she's like, but I need to be pretty cautious. And I'm like, absolutely, but like, so just like for her, that's an overcoming side for her, because she's seen what happened to her mom, so it's not just me that has to overcome that. It's my whole family, the people that are closest to me. And probably some people that are listening to this podcast right now that are like, I was planning to go snorkeling, but don't let it stop you, because you can't live in fear. So.
No, I appreciate all of it. And just, Tiffany, thank you so much for coming on. I know it was 8 years ago, and you're reliving this to my audience, and I'm truly grateful that you did come and do this. And I know after the audience listens to this episode or watches it or wherever they're consuming the content, they're going to think a little bit differently about their circumstances. And, I for that, I really appreciate you, truly, because, I look at everything that I do on this show, and it is for others. Like, if it were just about me, I told my team earlier, I would have quit a long ass time ago.
Right.
But I feel it's a purpose and it's a gift that I was given, and I'm going to use his gift.
That's right.
Right. Because that is the way he's working through me. I don't often talk about it as much as I should, but that's truly how I view things. And I just really appreciate you. And, wow, what a story. And, I'm glad to hear that you got back in a cove and snorkeled again. And, but more so than anything is your leadership with your children and not allowing your traumas to be their truth.
Yeah.
And that is a real parent. And I don't think I'm sorry. I'm scared to death of roller coasters, and I'm not afraid to admit it. And I have zero qualms of putting that fear onto my children. It's partly a joke, but,
right.
but like that to me is just, that to me is leadership at its finest. And I appreciate you. So thank you.
Well, thank you for the opportunity. It's always a blessing because I know God will use it. He always does. So I love the opportunity to be able to share it again and see it help somebody.
Oh, don't worry, my friend. My wheels are already turning. I have so many circles I can put you in.
I can't wait.
And I'm thinking, yes. And so the website is B, not B-E, just B, An Overcomer Ministries.com.
Yeah. So actually my Instagram handle is B, An Overcomer, the B.
Goodness.
But
got it.
But my website is BE. Just Instagram at BE was already taken, so I had to be creative. So,
well, there's only one Slim Shady. Come on now.
Wow. I should have the rights to it. Really, maybe I should send that person a message.
You should.
Yeah,
you should. You should get someone to buy that account from them. That's mine. What have you done?
Exactly.
What have you done? No, but again, thank you so much. And for the audience, please share this episode with someone you know, love, and trust that would get a ton of value out of hearing Tiffany's story. And until next time, guys, stay determined.